All right, welcome back to the final reaction. And we are so sorry we made you all wait this long for our review of episode 6. Now, Gabe, I'm super proud of our episode 5 review. We had Adam on there for the first time in a long time. It was a great episode to talk about. And as far as review goes, we got a lot of views for this channel. So I'm just so pumped about it. And hopefully we can do justice to this review. I'm going to tell you, there's some things that some Easter eggs and whatnot, references that I caught. Some things I have no idea, which is why I'm so glad you're here to help me and the rest of the audience understand. But let's jump right into episode 6. You let us know where we're going to start talking.
All right. So, we're not going to do a breakdown by breakdown of the entire episode. All right, guys, go watch it. It's less than 30 minutes. You know what I mean? We're going to talk about the most important things that happen in an episode, where we think it's heading. And the first one is going to be the twins, right? The twins manifesting their powers. Now, you could say, oh, we kind of saw that a little bit by, I think it was episode 4 when Wanda said, did you guys do that? You know what I mean? Because she didn't do it or whatnot. But now
this is definitely the first time we see the manifestation.
Yeah, the manifestation of their powers, bro. And that's so huge because we finally got mutants in the MCU, all right? And that's, to me, where this whole episode was at. There were a lot of little Easter eggs dropped. Earlier on, they talked about how Monica Rambeau's X-rays came back and it was all white light, right? In the comic books, she's photon. That's part of her power. She shoots out white light or whatnot, or plasma beams, something to that effect. Well, anyways, Monica Rambeau wants to go back in, and Darcy tells her, no, you've already been back in. You've been there through the field twice. And I was like, what do you mean she's been through the field twice? And I had to rewind it. Yes, you know what I mean? First she went in, then she came back, and I discussed that with Nick, and Nick had to explain it to me like, well, first she went in, she's the only one to come back out or whatnot. So she's already experienced it twice. That's possibly why her cells, like Marcy alluded to, have been changed on a genetics level. So we're talking about mutation, right? And Kevin Feige, people, in 2019, Kevin Feige said the mutants are coming to the MCU. He's no fool, all right? He understands that as bad as some of those X-Men films were with Fox, they made huge money. X-Men have a huge following, all right?
And let me say something real quick. I've been watching interviews like everyone else has about Elizabeth Olsen and WandaVision. And I didn't realize this when going into the show, but this is Kevin Feige's baby. Like, he put together this show, this series. He told Olsen about it a while ago and said, this is going to be what it is. And you're right. Talking about the X-Men in this episode with the manifestation of powers, we also see another article I saw where Joss Whedon told Elizabeth Olsen, you will never wear the comic book outfit for Scarlet Witch, even though we still call her Wanda. And we see that with the Halloween costume. We see Visions. They did such a great job of making, especially Visions, look so bad. But yeah, you Google it. That is his costume. You see the Quicksilver. That is his costume. You got the hair. I mean, everything we're getting, it's slowly, but we're getting induced with the X-Men world, with mutants and all that kind of stuff. And I know my man Gabe, the theory predictor, the Nostradamus of comics. I know you love that.
Oh, listen. I knew that, and you know what? I thought that it was going to be her just basically saying, I got a new theory after watching this. I said, hey, she's going to create mutants because once they take away her kids, she's going to say something to the effect, like in the comic book, she said no more mutants, and that's what caused 99% of the human population in House of M to disappear and that new reality to come. But I have a different theory as I'm watching this. In this show, we saw that she was able to expand that hex field, for lack of a better word, with very minimal effort. Right? That was super, super quick.
But she did have to pause everything, so that was pretty interesting. That was pretty big. She had to pause everything, right? Which, to me, at least, the way I saw that was, I got to focus all my powers on this. I can't worry about all these people are doing. So you're just on pause while I expand this. But yes, keep going.
And you saw her literally changing reality or mutating things as it was going. She turned the agents into clowns. That's what she thinks of it. She got the clowns, bro. You know what I mean? Yes. Everything changed. Yes. There was an Easter egg that goes back to the episode where the SHIELD agent was going through the tunnels, and when they pulled back the rope, it had become like a jump rope. She's physically changing things. Monica Rambeau.
She turned their base into a circus. Sorry, I just get so excited about this kind of stuff with the clowns.
Exactly. So she's changing things, and Monica Rambeau's outfit when she came back out. Remember when they analyzed it, they're like, it's Kevlar or whatever. So it's still, the structure is still there, but she was able to change it, which tells you that even though it comes out of the hex, it may not change back, cousin. So that's why I'm thinking that now anyone she touches with that field, because they're already talking about how to change Monica Rambeau, that's gonna awaken that mutant gene in them, and that's what's gonna bring about mutants. They gotta find a creative way to do it. Why is it so important, bro? Because think about it. Outside of Thor, because he's a god, everybody else has gotten their powers through either coming in contact, and we're talking about in the MCU, through one of the stones, one of the Infinity Stones, or through the super soldier serum, like Captain America, Hulk with his serum trying to replicate that Captain America's. But no one else has actually had legit powers that were a mutant. They were born with them or they developed them, and that's why this was so exciting. This episode was super exciting. You got so much here. And the last thing I'll let you jump in. You touched on a very good part. For everybody that's saying, oh no, Wanda's not in control. A, she froze everybody in order to do that. B, when Vision got outside of town, you notice how people were stuck. They weren't even moving. The one lady was stuck in a loop, like doing some type of thing over and over again, because she is literally controlling all of these people. Now, maybe somebody's controlling Wanda. I don't know. But the fact that she's in charge, if there's no one should talk about she's not in charge anymore. She's in charge. Maybe there is Mephisto. Maybe there is Nightmare. But they're not the ones running the show. She's running the show.
Yeah, I had a lot of theories about Agnes, right? And we see Agnes. She's a puppet too. And so that really surprised me. I thought Agnes was going to be like the whole witch character, and she was in cahoots with her from the beginning, and she was going to try to manipulate her. As far as we know now, episode 6, that theory is out the window because she was just stuck there in the car, and Vision's like, are you okay? He touches her, and she's like, oh my gosh, you're an Avenger. And then we find out more about Vision because he says, what's an Avenger? Like, this guy, honestly, and for those of you who aren't as slow as I am, I didn't realize that he was that, like, amnesia, if you want to call it. And so he doesn't know anything about the past. He's trying to explore things, but he has got such that curiosity. He still has that inner Avenger to him, to his soul, where he's got to figure out what's right. We'll get to all that kind of stuff later. There's a few things that I really liked, and I got a whole lot of questions, and hopefully Gabe can help me out. So one of the things I liked was there was a reference to Kick-A, right? Where Evan Peters was in that movie. And then, she says it so slowly. I thought that was awesome, that reference. Evan Peters did a fantastic job. Like, we knew he was going to. I really like Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver. I was just watching some of Age of Ultron last night with my kids. I like him. I think he's got enough of a personality to him, but he's also a little more serious and, realistic, if you will. But Evan Peters is just so much fun, and he fits this world so well. I was trying to figure out what was the opening sequence with the credits, and I asked Jody, is this like a Even Stevens type situation? She said Malcolm in the Middle, and you have a lot of that Malcolm in the Middle with the narration or whatever. So you had kind of that, which was really, really cool to see all that kind of stuff. Again, I love the costumes. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was a nice little subtle way of saying, yes, we have the X-Men mutants and their costumes in the MCU. But it was also a nice little, nod to show you how things have evolved and how things were different. And I think it's interesting. I don't think it was an accident. I don't think it was just for a cute thing. I think it's interesting that Wanda had the Scarlet Witch outfit the entire episode, and especially when she's doing certain things, House of M maybe. I think it's very, very interesting. These episodes goes by so fast because they're so short, but there's so much going on. I have so many questions. I think I've covered the things that I really was interested in, the things that I thought about. Obviously, what's crazy what happened to Vision is super crazy, and the manifestation of everything was of the powers of the young kids. But here's my first question. All right, with the girl that you're talking about, on the loop, the repeat, putting up the decoration, her husband in the background, he's putting the pumpkin down and picking it up and putting it down. Does that happen because Wanda is still kind of naive? So in my opinion, Wanda is approaching this whole thing. She doesn't really have a plan. She's going day by day. She's doing whatever she can in desperation mode to have her own little perfect world. and things keep messing it up. Things are challenging and threatening it. That area off Ellis Avenue, when you have those people on repeat, is that her just not putting too much attention to detail to those people because she just assumes in her naivete that Vision and her kids are never going to venture out there because she told her kids, remember, not Ellis Avenue. Is that why they're on that loop? Because she's not putting too much power and control to them? Are those people maybe fighting back a little bit? And maybe to her powers on the outside edge, does it limit a little bit? What are your thoughts on why they had those characters who weren't really doing anything? You had other ones that were kind of standing around and then not really doing much. What's your theory on that? Because I'm kind of lost.
I mean, my theory on that is every time Vision wakes somebody up, what's the first thing they start talking about? The pain, right? They're all in pain. And how
you did see the tear, yeah.
It is, exactly. And my theory on that is, obviously, this is a whole town worth of people. You, at any given time, only see a few people. She can't control everybody at the same time because at the same time, she's now dealing with Vision, questioning her. And my opinion is that when she's not, people are just stuck. And I think they gave you a little Easter egg with that commercial where the person was trying to get the yogurt out, but they couldn't, and they were just stuck. Those are the townspeople. They're in pain. They're starving. You think she's remembering to make sure everybody's eating every day? Do you think she's remembering? You know what I mean? Like the people that aren't in a direct vicinity, they're not eating. For all we know, those people are literally stuck in a loop like that until, you know, she goes back. Oh, now we're closer to town. I'm going to control these people because Vision and the kids will be around there. So I think that's why they threw that little commercial in there, because it kind of gives you a glimpse into what the town people are going through. And even though they're setting up the director to be the bad guy, you could already see it, right? He tried to shoot a missile at Wanda, and he understands she's got all these people captive, and they're her prisoners, for lack of a better word. Whether she looks at it that way or not, they're her prisoners. So I think that loop is showing, when she's not there, those people aren't living life. They're not drinking water. They're not eating food. They're not having any sustenance. And that's where the pain comes every time that Vision tries to, not that he tries to, but every time that Vision is able to break people free of her spell or whatnot, right away they're in pain and they're crying and they're like, save us because of that.
Cool. I mean, it makes sense to me. It's so tough to watch because Wanda is an Avenger. She's a hero that we see in the movies. But for those like yourselves that read the comics, you know, there's a whole lot more to her. And she is literally putting these citizens, these, you know, innocent citizens in pain. There's so much going on. One funny thing was before the Hex expanded and you have those soldiers in their Jeeps next to the boundary when Vision's coming out, my wife had a really funny point. She's like, did they really jump in their Jeeps and drive 5 feet to get to that part in the grass? Like, what's the point of having the Jeeps there? You realize later on that was a way for the characters to jump into some and try to outrun the Hex. And I'm not sure if it was for you, but when they were outrunning in their Jeeps the Hex and trying to avoid that, I totally reminded me of the first Avengers where Loki's in the underground bunker and they're trying to get out as the whole thing's collapsing. But, all right. So I'm still so confused at what she has control of and what she doesn't have control of, because you have, again, these slip-ups and these like we had a few episodes where Agnes is like, you want me to take that from the top again? You know, this or that. I'm confused about that. I'm confused with the fact that she's not able to have a mental GPS on Vision and where he's going, and a little alert that goes in her mind, like he's getting close to Ellis Avenue. He's not doing the neighborhood watch thing. I'm confused as why she doesn't have more power. And it was her son that said, Dad's in trouble. Dad is in serious trouble. And then that's when she realized, oh, shoot. And she paused everything and she expanded because he looked like he was dying. He looked like he was falling apart. That was super interesting to me. A little confused about still like what's going on. There has to be someone else involved. There has to be something else going on. And it seems to me, again, with Wanda, she is so desperate right now to have, and I'm not sure if it was because she wanted to have a family with Vision, if she wanted to have kids, because they didn't come until the fourth episode. But third episode. But she's so desperate to have Vision in her life and to do this make-believe world that she's willing to ignore all of these red flags. I want to know who is the person, who's the puppet master, who's the person pulling the strings, who is the devil she made a deal with, so to speak. to get this world that she wants, which continues to crumble away. And then she's questioning Quicksilver. So that's the first part. Second part, she's questioning Quicksilver a lot. And at one point, I can't remember what he said, but he says something, and she pushes him away in anger or whatever. So first of all,
he said, your husband can't die twice. Like, what are you worrying about, Vision? Your husband can't die twice. And right there, he's acknowledging the fact that even he knows that Vision is dead. And he himself mentioned that he remembers getting killed and getting shot or whatnot. So another theory I have is that a lot of these people that are here are already dead as well, which is why you see that that person whittle away in that commercial, to their death, because Pietro is dead and so is Vision. So, here's the thing. I mentioned that they were setting up for Wanda a while back, because in Avengers Endgame, again, if it wasn't for Rainfire and one of our subs on another channel, Rainfire, listen, she was gonna crush him right there, cousin. She is the most powerful person there. She's gone toe to toe with Vision and leveled him, in Civil War. And I remember right there, you saw a little bit of darkness when she's trying to leave, and Vision's like, listen, if you do this, you're gonna just prove them right and they'll never stop fearing you. And she said, listen, I cannot control their fear, I can only control my own. You know what I mean? And they've been setting up this dark side in Wanda for a while, in my opinion, because people are afraid of her. People hate her, right? Because of what happened in Sokovia. And if you think about it, it kind of mirrors her father in the comic books, Magneto, again, he was a survivor of Auschwitz. He was a survivor of the Nazis, and he tried to do X-Men First Class. I really like that film because they show how one becomes a supervillain, so to speak, or a bad guy. They give him that's what the X-Men have done so well. Bro, people have jumped into X-Men from team to team and from good to bad, and so many times it's ridiculous, right? Like currently Magneto is now in charge of the X-Men because Professor X, spoiler alert for those of you that don't know, he becomes Onslaught, all right, cousin? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly. Professor X, like the greatest hero or the biggest good guy in the X-Men universe, becomes Onslaught, a bad guy. So you're always teeter-tottering on that line of becoming that bad guy. And I think that this is perfect because, where were you going to go from here? I know a lot of people were talking about Kang the Conqueror. You got to do a lot more setup for Kang the Conqueror. And guys like Mephisto, guys like that, and even Nightmare, Doctor Strange can handle them. But who's going to be that threat? Who's going to be that Thanos level threat? And I think it's Wanda, because she has the ability to change reality. None of them in and on their own. That's how come I was laughing when he's out there with the director with all those soldiers or whatever, and she's just like nonchalantly like turns them on him and walks away. Like, I'm not even, you're an ant to me, okay, period. So I think that you're the bad guy. And wouldn't it be so poetic, Nick, to see her go from originally being a bad guy with good intent, with a good reasoning, right? Tony Stark killed her, or Stark weapons, I should say, killed her family. She thought she was going to die because of Stark weapons. You get to see their side of the story. Then she becomes a good guy only to be in prison because she was doing the right thing. And it's like, look, I sacrificed so much. I lost my brother. Now I lose Vision, and people are still going to be afraid of me. And people are still, you know what? I'm done. I'm doing my own thing. And listen, it's you can make a compelling argument for why she behaves the way she does. And I think, and I heard this somewhere else, so I don't want to steal this. I forget who was talking about it. Maybe Emergency C. What if she wasn't? What if what caused this whole thing to happen? Because they mentioned it, that Vision said he didn't want to be turned into anyone's weapon, right? He didn't want to be resurrected. What were they doing with Vision's body in that place anywhere? It wasn't like it was secure. He was already being worked on, right? So what if she sensed that and said, the one thing was that he didn't want to do was become everybody's weapon, and you're trying to make him a weapon again, trying to make him, and somebody mentioned their own version of Ultron. Absolutely not. That's why she went and got him. So Emergency, I think that I heard that on his channel like 2 weeks ago when he first saw that clip. Like, that clip only shows her going in, but they were already working on Vision when she got there. Why were they working on him?
Yeah, and obviously the director guy had a hand in that 100%.
Exactly, man.
And yeah, you bring up some great points. Man, I mean, it's just, I have so many questions, and you read online, a lot of people have questions too. It's all about theories. A lot of theories out there is surrounded with the phrase that I think Pietro says when he calls the kids demon spawn, right? And is that a Mephisto reference? And is he, implied some way? I mean, it seems like that's everyone's favorite theory. So possibly, right? This director guy, I mean, I don't know. I was watching John Campion. He bring up a good point. I think it was episode 4 or 5 where Rambo gets really excited. She's like, oh, I know exactly the right kind of person that's an expert in that field that can help us out. And there's a lot of speculation. Who could that be? Victor Von Doom, right? Could that be someone else that she's talking about? Is that how they're going to bring them in? I mean, there's so many different avenues. We only have 2 more episodes left. And this show has gone from a snooze fest to just the most exciting thing on TV because of what Feige and everyone else has done to piece things together, to set things up. It's absolutely, I mean, they could do whatever they want in this show, and we're going to eat it up because of how well they have built this world and put things together. Okay, let me ask you this question. So, as great as this show is, we have the storyline with Wanda and her situation. We have the kids and their evolution. We have Vision, his investigation of stuff. We have Darcy and Wu, who's fantastic. We see Wu. Doesn't he kick some butt in this episode? This guy finally, I mean, he's always the butt of our jokes, but this guy showed who he was in this episode. That was fantastic. I mean, he took some guys out, for crying out loud. That was cool. You have all these different storylines. I want to know, I'm going to share mine first. I want to know, which storyline do you wish we had more time to spend on? Because me right now, I am most interested in Monica Rambeau. I want to know more about her storyline, more about how she fits in this world. I can totally see 100% she is going to be a character, and that actress has probably signed a 5 or 6 movie deal, TV show deal, because I can see her not going anywhere. Which storyline do you wish we had just a few more minutes on to marinate?
It's so tough, man. I want them, and I know they're just setting it up because there's going to be one more big cameo, but I want Darcy to have given us a couple more, because it could be a myriad of people. My theory is it's going to be Reed Richards, right? The Fantastic Four, because the Fantastic Four aren't mutants. So they got to figure out a way to bring them into this MCU universe.
That makes sense, yep.
Without them necessarily becoming mutants. Because remember, they get their powers from going into space and getting hit with the cosmic rays or whatnot. And you can still introduce Reed Richards now and have him go to space and along with his team, and then that happen later on. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's Reed Richards, but all they said was astrophysicist. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know how many astrophysicists in Marvel Comics, everybody's astrophysicist, right? You know what I mean?
There's like only 3 types of scientists in the comic books, all right? And that's one of them.
You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, we know it's not Tony Stark, because he's passed. Like, he's, the go-to man.
Rest in peace, Tony Stark.
He's passed. Rest in peace, Tony Starks. R.I.P. But in the comic books, there's the Illuminati, right? They call them the Illuminati. I think I might have mentioned it already. And that is the council of all, by the way, that's the same council that decided we got to kill Wanda, which is what ended up with the House of M. And Reed Richards was, because no, we won't kill her. We'll just trap her in this, the negative zone or whatnot. And, she can't come and do harm because she was just changing things. And people are like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But it's Black Bolt from the Inhumans. It's Reed Richards is the head of the Alliance. He is the smartest man alive. Tony Stark is like, that's what I'm saying. People say he's a B character in the comic books. He's a part of them, but he's not like the head honcho. Who was it? There was a great line when Tony Stark, Rocket. Rocket says, listen, you're only the smartest person on Earth, all right? Like, you know what I mean? Like in Avengers Endgame, because Tony Stark is like, oh, not bad, rat, hamster, or whatever he called him. He said, listen, you're only the smartest person on Earth. But he's not. Reed Richards is. So I can't wait till they introduce Reed Richards, man. Oh, Fantastic Four is probably my favorite, bro.
I'm going to cut you off right here, and we're both doing this because we're so excited. All right. You just got me thinking of a theory. And this might be super weak. I don't know. Monica Rambeau, she goes in the Hex once or twice, and her cells are changing. If Darcy's talking about Reed Richards, because I think that makes a lot more sense than Victor Von Doom, coming in there to help out, can he get his powers with his team going in and out of the Hex? Are they going to use the Hex as the engine, as the vehicle to bring mutants, maybe not every single mutant, but to bring mutants into light? And not just that, but are they going to use the Hex and what's going on to where all these people now involved inside Westview, are they now going to have mutant abilities? Is that how Wanda brings mutants into the MCU, by doing her whole little hissy fit, and maybe with Mephisto's help or whatever, whoever's help? Is that how we're going to get mutants? Is that how the Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four, are they going to retcon going into space and get it from the cosmics? And no, it's going to be right here in the Hex. Is that a possibility?
They could do it that way. Listen, all we know is that Kevin Feige is got a plan, right? That's why I love DC, but that's why Marvel's so much more successful, because he's already laid these things out. He's already thought about all of this stuff, right? That's why he mentioned a while back how important Wanda was. He mentioned a while back how, they're going to go into different storylines, and, it's just one of those situations where I think that he's going to retcon some things. Maybe you're correct. I do, and that's what my theory was earlier. I do think that instead of the X gene, which is what we know for mutants, maybe that's what that field does. Maybe it awakens the X gene in people, but they're going to use that to make bring about the mutants. And also remember this: somebody's mentioned this one time. I forget what it was, but they were kind of mocking. Everything that happens in Marvel Comics, by the way, for the most part, like 90% of storylines all happen in Westchester, New York, and New York City, and the East Coast up there. Like, what's wrong with the East Coast? Is there something in the water up there? I'm serious. Think about other than West Coast Avengers, most of the storylines are New York and upstate New York, and everything. Spider-Man, New York. Fantastic Four, New York. Upstate New York is Westchester. That's where the X-Men's mansion is at. So she's in New Jersey, right? Really close to New York. Maybe, the mutants that come about from that field, and maybe it's the entire East Coast, or at least that section of the East Coast. Who knows how far she can expand that Hex? But that's a great theory, my friend.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because one of my favorite shows is Smallville. Everyone was messed up in Smallville from that kryptonite and those meteorites, right? Everything that they're like, what's going on with this town? There's all these villains every single week. That's hilarious. But I'm going to end on just one little nitpick, and it's probably going to tick off some people, but I'm watching episode 6. Again, I'm completely honest, put myself out there. I am not a comic book expert, but I'm sitting there like, the comic book writers for Wanda and all this kind of stuff, the best they can do with the abilities of her twins is to make one fast and one weird, as they say in Age of Ultron, with a telekinetic powers. Like, they couldn't think of anything a little more creative than that. Like, let's just do Pietro and let's do Wanda once again. I understand heredity and I understand twins, all that kind of stuff, but you gotta be kidding me. Ladies and gentlemen, let us know what your thoughts are on this episode. We appreciate you waiting so patiently for us, our nation of 100. We appreciate that. Don't forget. Oh, snap. Don't forget. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new to our channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Give us your theories, please. Can't wait to read your theories. And with all that being said, until next time.
This is the way.